Good afternoon, guys. This is Chris Frosin at CF Photography, and today we've got it's a traditional Tuesday, and Jared Poland from FroKnowsPhoto.com has popped up his raw edit of the week, which I've already challenged Kilkenny Cat Ryan to do one of her edits on, because I saw the picture and I thought it would be absolutely perfect for her kind of style. I believe she's put that up, so it'd be a little bit cruel for me not to do an edit this week. So here's my edit. We've got Lightroom open down here. If we just pop into it, this is the photo that Jared's put up for this week. And what I'm going to try and do for this photo is be a little bit more technical. Excuse me, a little more technical than I have been in my past edits, which was a lot about feel and throwing sliders up. So I'm going to try and do a slightly more technical edit, trying to keep a little bit more of the detail, trying to bring out some of the colours, see if we can bring out her lips and maybe her eyes as well. I'm going to sort out this strap down here because you'll see it's just folded over. It's a bit of a shame that the photographer didn't spot that and just twist it back again, but all in all, a fantastic photo. Just have a look at the information. 1/200th of a second, I believe this was in a studio, so that would be under the sync speed for the flash. 2.8 on a 70-200, and that was shot at 200mm. Doesn't tell you what camera though, which is a bit of a shame. I'm going to take a wild stab in the dark and say it was a Canon, because the colours aren't, here we go, the colours aren't as vibrant as you get off a Nikon camera. Right, so anyway, so what we're going to do, I'm going to start with a touch of white balance. We're going to see if we can warm the white balance up. Again, I'm using my Wacom tablet. For the tiny details, for the tiny slide, occasionally I will click on the temperature here, and then you can plus or minus it with the plus and minus keys, because it's quite difficult to move precise measurements here. Obviously it'd be a lot easier just to type in there, but I like the plus minus. There we go. So just warm it up a little bit. Don't want to try and make it look jaundiced or ill. So I'm just going to push the magenta up as well, bring us some colour back to the face. Exposure is looking pretty good. Maybe just bump the exposure just a little bit. Again, this is where we're going to try and stay as technical as I can. Just hold down the Alt key just to see the mask. Don't want to push it too far. That's where we're starting to get blowout. So I'm going to keep it down here. Don't want to blow out that too far. And there's automatically there, straight away, a bit more of a sheen on her face. Recovery, maybe just push the recovery a little bit just to hold off that masking there. Don't want to go too far again, because you've seen what happens if you do go too far with the recovery. It brings it all out blotchy when you've got skin in the photo. So just try and keep it under 10, somewhere around 7. Fill light, pretty happy with the details on this. Look how sharp that is. Absolutely brilliant on that eye. Cannot fault that at all. That's obviously where the flashes popped in. Blacks, let's see if we can push the blacks up as well. We want to keep the black out of the eye, so you can see the pupil there going black. I'm going to keep that out, so just pull that back to just inside where it's clipping on the black. So move that up to 9. Brightness, we'll leave the brightness, and we're just going to push a little bit of contrast up just to bring out, there we go. Clarity, here we go. Now, are you ready? This is what everybody on the FroKnowsPhoto website has been doing recently. Bang! Yeah, let's make a smooth skin. Don't do that, guys. Come on, look. It just makes it all glowy and soft, and you lose a lot of the detail. So the texture in the skin on this lady, I mean, she's got fantastic skin. Just leave the texture there. So we're just going to pull back a tiny little bit on the clarity, and also we're just going to push the vibrance up a tiny bit just to see if we can keep those lips bringing out. Right now we're going to address that easy way. I'm just going to pull that crop in, but what I'd quite like to do is just rotate it slightly. So she's looking a little bit more of a tilt on her head. And obviously you can see as I've rotated it, it's pulled in that just slightly. I don't want to get too close to the earring there, so probably leave it at that. Maybe just pull up slightly on, make sure I'm locked, pull up slightly on the bottom, there we go. And can we move? Yeah, move it as far to the left as we can, just to keep the space over here by her earring. Bit done. There we go, so it's just got a little bit more of an angle on there. Right, nice and simple, quick edit on the eyes. I could go down and click Iris Enhance, but I'm actually just going to do it myself, so I'm going to push the exposure up probably half a stop, leave the brightness just underneath the exposure, contrast up and the saturation up. And we're going to just increase the clarity a little bit to bring out this eye. Now if we hit the O for the overlay button, we've got the size nice and small, feathers high, flows high, density is high, so push the density up a tiny bit more just to keep that on. I'm just going to draw circles, and the best thing about the Wacom tablet is if I ease off on the pressure, just makes the size of the brush a little bit smaller to get into the smaller areas. There we go, so that's 2 irises done. Click off the overlay button. Wow, that's gone too far, so let's pull back on the exposure. Definitely pull back on the brightness. That's looking a bit better. Saturation up, contrast. That is, I'm not going to tell you who that is. Clarity, we're going to keep that clarity up around there. And let's just push the sharpness up as well. I do like doing, once you've got an idea of what all these do, I do like doing the personal edits on this. Let's just close down Facebook on that. So, there we go. That's the iris is done. Zoom back out again on that and close that down. Fantastic. And we're just going to see if we can bring out some of the red in her lips. So if we go down to the HSLs here, saturation of the HSLs. Now if we push up the red, is that going to affect the cheeks too much? Wow. Not so much, but it is just pushing it out on the eye there. So just pull back a little bit. And we might just do, let's just do another. Saturation up, contrast, keep that up. We'll zoom in again. Move her down and just rub over these lips, bring those lips out. Proper bright red. Nice lipstick, by the way. Nice lipstick, nice lips. There we go. Who is this lady? Someone give me a phone number. Right, there we go. So, red lips. Sorted. Right, let's just pop down. We're just going to put on the lens correction, which I've been doing. Let's see what that changes. Wow. Okay, so if you look at the lens correction here, it's pulling out, it is a Nikon lens, so I was wrong with the Canon. If we pop that out, you can see it's correcting quite a lot of vignetting and also a bit of stretch on the face. So that's that sorted. And maybe just, no, we won't do a border. And we won't do any. Do we need to put any of that back in? I do quite like it dark down here just to hold your eye back into the photo, so I'll just pop that back in and maybe move the midpoint out a little bit further to keep it away from her hair. And just going to as well, if we select colour select on here, so we've gone into the HSL saturation again, colour select on there, we're just going to pick a nice brown, see if we can really move that up into a vibrant. Now it's messing around with the face, let's take that back. It's messing around with the pigment in her, or the colour in her skin. Okay, let's have a look at the tone curve really quickly. Let's just push the highlights a little bit, just to give her a bit of sheen. Again, we don't want to make sure that we're not clipping, so the only thing we're clipping at the moment is her earring. Just holding over the clip, so on the highlights, just move up a little bit for the sheen. And a little bit there as well. Darks, pull back. Shadows, how far can we pull the shadows? Really brings out her eyes when we drop the shadows, so we're just going to drop them back a tiny little bit. That'll do nicely. And the last thing we want to do, I'm just going to do one more in here. I'm going to pull all these back. Drop the saturation, increase the brightness, and we're just going to drop a little bit onto her whites of her eyes. Just brush this in. Again, we're going to click on the overlay in a second just to see how I'm getting on. Just fade out into the corners. O for the overlay. Missed a bit up around there. And then the same down here. Get the whites of her eyes. Again, doing it nice and quickly for the video. It'd probably take a little bit longer if it was my personal photo. But for sake of the video, there we go, it's probably a little bit too much, so we'll just pull back a fraction on the exposure and a fraction on the brightness. There we go. And then if we zoom out, and we'll have a look at the before. which is there, and then the after. Let's move that out of the way. So before and after. Before, after. The only thing I'm not too sure about is the sheen on there, so we're just going to pull back on the exposure. Let's take a couple of stops off the exposure. 2, there we go. I think it'd be a little bit of a shame not to do a very, very quick black and white, so that's going to be my snapshot for the colour. That's my colour edit. And a very, very quick black and white now. There's my black and white. What we're going to have to do is find the colour temperature which brings out her white skin. That's better. There we go. Fantastic. Again, bring these shadows down for her hair, make her hair pop out. Really bring these darks down. Wow. And let's see if we can darken down her lips. Just pull that ready. Wow. There we go. Well, I think we may as well just push the highlights up, and then, sorry, the lights up a fraction. Pull the highlights back. No, blowing out of face now. Pull those lights back. Highlights up. And we're going to keep that as my snapshot. My black. Okay, so thank you very much, guys. This was Chris Frosin at CF Photography, and this is raw edit number 59, I believe, from the FroKnowsPhoto.com website. Thank you very much, and I shall see you anon. Bye.